Hello and welcome. You're watching First Stick here on News9, where we bring to you the morning buzz on the Lal Street. I am Suyash Maheshwari, and with me in the studio, as always, is Amit Ranjan. And it's a Wednesday morning, the middle of the week, and the markets, they have rather opened on a flattish note. And actually, if you think about it, that has been pretty much the theme of the market, this week. Nifty has been rather directionless. We are although holding above 22,000. But, on the up moves, bulls are looking rather exhausted. Even in the broader markets, the underperformance has started creeping in. And, we'll talk about it in much detail and try to make sense of things as they currently are. But as always, let's start with a quick check on the global markets. And Amit, things are looking rather directionless over there as well.
Totally mixed, somewhat muted on Tuesday, but all eyes are on Thursday, when the personal consumer expenditure price index comes out, which is the preferred gauge of the Fed, and that will give some pointer to when the interest rate is coming, if it's coming soon or it will be after June. Dow Jones closed in the negative and at 0.25% in the red. S&P was slightly in the positive at 0.17. Nasdaq was slightly in the positive at 0.37. Now, till last week, it was the tech stocks and the AI stocks that were driving the markets. Not anymore, but Apple did give it some cushion towards the end of yesterday. Coming to the European markets, it closed in the positive slightly at 0.18%. So I'm talking about the stock 600. Hang Seng today is in the negative at 0.21% in the red. Nikkei continues to rally after it crossed its 1989 high. Further rallies are expected by investors, and it is in the positive at 0.02% at the moment today.
All right, and Indian markets, they have opened on a flattish note. Nifty is holding above 22,200 as we speak. It's up about 0.06% currently. We are above 22,200. And if you look at Sensex, that's holding above 73,000. The broader markets, the story is mixed over there. Mid-cap 100 indexes on trading on a flattish note. Small cap, now that is showing some bit of a resilience this morning. It's up about 0.3%. And if you look at the sectors, most of them are trading with a positive bias. The auto pack is seeing some bit of sluggishness. It's currently trading with a cut of about 0.2%, and the private banking sector is also facing a bit of a heat and some bit of a profit booking in realty as well. But to make sense of things and get some bit of a direction, because as we mentioned, markets have been directionless. Let's also bring on board Mr. Brijesh Ayal of IDBI Capital. Now, thank you for joining us on News9, Brijesh. Always a pleasure speaking with you. And Nifty, that has been broadly trading in this 200-point range since we hit a record high on Friday. Now, the index is respecting 22,000 on the downside, but the overall texture, if you look at it, is rather looking, inconclusive. What's your sense of things at this point in time, sir?
Good morning, Suresh. So, if you ask me the view is positive because we are trending up, and irrespective of market being sideways, we are making a new high. So as you said, we almost made a high of 22,300 mark. It's 22,297 precise. So the part is day before yesterday when the market corrected, it has taken support. So and somewhere it looks like the levels of 22,000 will be held. So the range for the Nifty is 22,000 to 22,500. There is a probability that we will see some good upside. Technically, when one speaks, though, we will always be looking at the 50-day moving average, which is 21,700. So directionally, as long as 21,700 levels are not broken, the trend will be positive. There can always be a loss of momentum, but then the trend will always remain positive as long as we are above this 21,700 mark. Right now, at this scenario, I even believe that 22,000 will be protected, and there is a fair chances maybe today, tomorrow being a monthly expiry, we may again approach the 22,300 mark on the higher side. So bias will be positive. We may see some good short covering in the market. Not exactly the short covering, maybe the fresh buying can be seen in the market. Bias will be positive. The trigger will come on the Bank Nifty. 47,000 level is a trigger for the Bank Nifty.
Right.
Once the bank Nifty starts to trade over 47,000, I think entire the Nifty, bank Nifty both will start moving out. So that will also pull the Nifty on the higher side. So
Hmm.
just waiting for that confirmation, 47,000. So once we see a bank Nifty closes over 47,000, I think we'll be having a strong upside momentum.
All right, and talking about Bank Nifty, because in the last week or so, we have seen a 1,000 point correction. But to be fair, Bank Nifty has done fairly well in the February series. It has been a relative outperformer compared to Nifty, but mixed trends here. The PSU banks, they do well one day. The private banks, they do well the other day. What's your sense of things, with the private and the PSU banks?
Suresh, as you said, it's rightly a mix. So one day it looks positive, one day it looks negative. So it's very difficult to judge. But then from the technical perspective, there's two counters which are seeing a reversal. One is the IndusInd Bank. So at current level 1488. So there is a reversal basically from the technical. We can always bet for that 1550, 1560 kind of a move. It's again a trading opportunity which I am looking at. So irrespective of like Bank Nifty remain trading in range, IndusInd Bank is one stock where I think there could be some opportunity. Secondly, the HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank, it looks like that's 1400. The base of 1400 will be held. It doesn't look that will be broken that easily, and some bounce close to 1500. So these are the two stocks specific in the private banks I will be keeping a watch on. SBI, Canara Bank, and Bank of Baroda are our favorites. So whenever there is a correction or maybe some 3-4% odd corrections, we always keep have this buy on dips kind of strategy for this particular stock. So it's a overall individual stocks we are looking at. And as I said, I need a confirmation for the Bank Nifty above 47,000 level. So once I see that, then some aggressive trades can be taken.
Good morning, Brijesh. I'd like to drive your attention towards Vodafone. Now, they are going in for a mega fundraising exercise of as much as 45,000 crores of rupees. 20,000 crores of that will be through equity, rest will be through debt. And there's going to be an expected shareholder meeting on the 2nd of April. Now, when I look at the Vodafone stock as such, it earned almost 130% in the last 1 year, 72% in the last 6 months. But today it is down a few percentage points. Even the last 5 days, it has just been muted. What do you make of Vodafone, and do you think this will be the required impetus that the company needs to stall the falling consumer base, subscriber base?
So if I look at Vodafone from the longer time frame, one thing is for sure that the stock is forming a base formation. This level of 10 rupees and 15 rupees, there is a good amount of accumulation which has been done. So definitely the bottom formation has been made in this counter. So whatever the bad has to be seen. It looks likely from the, it's very too early to comment, but then it looks like that the bad patch is over for the Vodafone. Slowly and steadily, the correction started from the level of 80 and 60 in the immediate term. So this was somewhere close to 2017, 2018. So I can't tell you the time frame, but then I won't be surprised if in the near term, maybe after 3-4 years or 5 years, if the Vodafone goes back to 60 levels. So it looks quite promising. The risk reward ratio is quite favorable at this point. After a very long consideration of 3 years, the stock has started to move. And again, the Kumar Mangalam Birla coming into the board, this all fuels up to the positive structure. Base formation is done, is what I can see in the charts. So one has to hold quite a long time. But it may go back to 55-60 levels on the higher side, which is quite a big bounce from the current level.
All right, and quite surprising the kind of moves we are seeing in Vodafone Idea. I mean, the stock is down 4%. One would think that, this fundraising plan, this approval from the board will, provide a new lease on life for the company. But, it looks like it's in a free fall. But another stock which is in contrast, not in a free fall, rather, moving up pretty much on a daily basis is Tata Motors now, Brijesh. At a record high, strong bullish candle yesterday, the stock almost surged about 3%, up about 1% this morning. Phenomenal returns on a 1-year basis. What's the ceiling for Tata Motors here, Brijesh?
Suresh, if we look the long-term charts of the Tata Motors, then I would like to take the level of 600. So 600 was the level from where it started to rally. So that was the resistance earlier. So the day like the when it went like it closed above 600 mark, that was the trigger from where it has started to rally. And from 600, it's 970 right now. And every time at the end of the month, whenever the auto numbers are supposed to come, the Tata Motors is one which will always give us some good amount of momentum. Even the momentum started from the last 2 days before, again, the Tata Motors has started to rally. Directionally, 1150, 1200 is what we are betting on. There is no decline as of now. Right now, 970. If we see some 20-30 points of corrections, I would be the one to again re-enter the long positions as directional is still below 1150 to 1200 will be the target on the higher side. Risk reward ratio technically it won't be justified because it has gone one way. If I talk about the parameters and everything, everything is in the overbought. But it is said that whenever the things are in overbought, it continues to remain in overbought. It doesn't come that easily on the downside. So Tata Motors is one stock which I'm pretty confident it will take a good amount of time, but then 1150 to 100 is what my directional view is. And from the current level, whenever once this it cool downs and it come back to 30-40 points on the lower side, I would definitely like to take the long position in the Tata Motors.
Positions on Tata Motors as your advice for the investors. But what are your picks for the investors today?
Yeah, so my one of my pick was Tata Motors because yesterday closing I was looking for the momentum. Yesterday's close 633. I was willing to take a buy call. So by any chance, if come back to it's already moved up. If Tata Motors comes to nine, I think the levels are little. One second, I'll just tell you.
Tata Motors.
If Tata Motors come back to 950, I think I'll take a buy call for the target of 1000 on the higher side. And another call is Jamna Auto at 124. The stop loss will be 170 for the target of 142. And one more, the trading opportunity is in the KEC International. This is a little bit of a positional trade at 697. The stop loss will be 672 for the target of 765.
Those are the top trading picks for the short term from Brijesh Iyer. Sir, thank you for joining us on First Take here. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Right.
But with that, let's take a short break. On the other side, we'll be joined by Mr. Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services.
We are trying a lot of experiments, innovations and ideas.
We came out with a new format in audio, which is audio series.
Listening for content-oriented company in India, which is a very unique proposition.
When you look at audio in general, we had music, which is like extremely old format, and then we had podcast.
A natural extension to Pocket FM is to move from Hindi to regional content. I think I'd love to see their FY24 numbers, which they claim will be close to 1,000 crores. I think there are talks of them to raise another $80 to $100 million of funding.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which has always intrigued me. When you come into a stadium, this is the highest level of pressure. When I set out to do something, I decide in my mind that failure is not an option.
What you feel very strongly about, those are the stories to tell.
I have a mind which is absolutely restless. Mind and body are entangled sensations. That brings me back to golf. It's an amazing game.
This is not a perfect game. You only learn from them.
If you have a formula to a success, then you can replicate it.
I feel this is my first step. I'm starting now.
Winner is first born in the mind. I think, therefore I am. We are all about our mind.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
वर्ष 2070 तक भारत नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा.
There is certainly a wall of capital coming into the clean tech, climate tech space, not just in India but across the world.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. You're watching First Stick here on News9, and the markets now, they opened on a flattish note, but we were trading with a slight positive bias, but in fact they have turned negative. Nifty is, it broke below 22,200, has been rather volatile. We are currently still trading in the red. Around that 200 mark. We are very close to the day's low. Sensex is also trading with a cut of 0.04%, and this is as of 10 a.m. this morning. The broader markets, the story remains mixed there. Mid caps are seeing some bit of a pressure. They are down by 0.1%. The small cap, on the other hand, is up 0.1%. Volatility is also moving towards 16 levels once again. But joining us is a very special guest, Mr. Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services. Thank you for joining us here on News9, Gaurang. Ever since the state elections, most of us were factoring in a pre-election rally in 2024. I mean, that has not really been the case. Nifty, although very close to record high levels, is up just about 2% on a year-to-date basis, has underperformed US markets and Japanese markets. FIIs, they have been net sellers to the tune of about 3.5 billion. The broader markets, the underperformance has started to come into play there, and even the unilateral moves that we were seeing in PSUs, that's pretty much gone. What are you making of the markets at this point in time, sir?
I don't know, Suyash, how much do you expect out of the markets? Especially when you are trading at all-time high. It has been a history of the market that whenever we have done that, we go into a brief period of consolidation, we try to make a strong bottom and then move upwards. And I think the rally from the time we saw the state election result to where we are right now at 22,100 or 200, I think it's been a decent uptick. I don't think anybody has to complain about that. And like you rightly mentioned, in a time when we are approaching general election in the next 2 to 3 months, markets would tend to consolidate, and then possibly post the result of the state elections, we are preparing ourselves to a much more higher side. Not to forget, this week we have the FNO expiry. Also, tomorrow is the FNO monthly expiry. Expect choppiness and volatility. Earnings, credit policy, data points as far as domestic events are concerned, I think by and large we have done and dusted. We may react to the global news flow, depending upon which way the news flow is going to come from the global arena. But I am quite satisfied. I'm quite pleased with the kind of moves that we've seen in the markets. And you were talking about PSU stocks. So, one has to also remember law of gravity. Whatever goes up has to come down, and whatever comes down has to consolidate and move upwards. So, in terms of performance, I think after a long period of time, PSU stocks have performed, be it in defense, be it in oil marketing companies, be it in oil exploration companies, be it in public sector banks, we've seen some decent return. And we spoke last week also. I think consolidation is always better for the markets. It gives opportunity for new players to come in, for short to medium term players to book profits. Our view on the market is last week and this week, it was that 22,100 would not be broken decisively. We did break that and gave a close above that, and the result is that we're closer to 22,200. And possibly if we give a close, not today, tomorrow, but maybe next week, about 22,300, then slowly, steadily, we are preparing ourselves to move towards 22,500. Pre-election rally, I think one will have to be a little bit cautious in terms of expectations.
All right, so as we speak, Juniper Hotels, now they have listed a slight premium of about 1% at rupees 365 rupees a share versus the listing price of the IPO price of actually 360 rupees per share. And Gaurang, coming to you, I mean, hospitality has been a segment which has been in focus, relatively over the last 1 year. First, it was the World Cup frenzy, then the wedding season and festive season. Now we were talking about this spiritual tourism theme that's also picking up, but Juniper specifically has been a loss-making entity, a muted listing as well. What's your take here, sir? Juniper Hotels, is that something that one can add to their portfolios?
We don't have any coverage on this one. Won't comment specifically in Juniper Hotels, but extremely excited about the hospitality sector. And Suyash, I've been traveling length and breadth of the country before pandemic. Then we were hit by the pandemic and restricted travel was there. During that time also I traveled, and post that when the restrictions were lifted off completely and new normal is set in, I have traveled very recently. What I have noticed is the room tariffs have moved up anywhere between 10 to 15%. Management commentary in terms of room tariffs is likely to go up by another 10 to 15%. Occupancy run rate has improved, realizations have improved, not only on the tariff front, but also on food and beverages. And banquet income is also going to come in and contribute to a great extent, thanks to the festive season, wedding season, etc., leisure travel, business travel, etc. So we like one name in this particular sector, that is Indian Hotels. And I was also listening into the commentary of couple of management from the hospitality sector, and they have got some very interesting lineup in terms of adding to the room count, also opening up of new properties. So I think this sector is going to do pretty well. I hope that there is no unpleasant surprise that comes in from China or any part of the world.
Morning, Gaurang. While hospitality has been rallying over the last 1 year, almost across the board, there's one sector that has just been up and down, and that is the telecom sector. Now, with the announcement of a 45,000 crore fundraise by Vodafone, do you see fortunes in this sector going up? I mean, I'll just go through this. Vodafone has given gains of almost 130% in the last 1 year, but in the last few days and today it is down in the negative. Airtel has been in the negative last 1 month and only about 52% gains in the last 1 year. Does your law of gravity apply to Airtel here? Reliance, of course, Jio accounts for only 11% of their revenue, but Reliance too has been just up and down. It would not reflect on Jio too much, but what do you make, where do you see the telecom sector going in the near term?
1 year return of 50% is not bad. And the law of gravity has explained itself, I guess.
It's in the negative last 1 month, so therefore.
Yeah, so 1 month, you don't look at 1 month. I mean, you are asking a wrong person. 1 month return, you should ask a technical guy, not a fundamental guy.
Of course.
So I'm quite happy we have coverage on Reliance Industries and so forth for Jio, because Jio is a part of Reliance Industries balance sheet and a very strong contribution to the balance sheet. Bharti Airtel, we've been positive for a pretty long period of time. I would not like to comment on Vodafone Idea because we don't have coverage. And what will 45,000 crores do against an outstanding debt of 2 lakh crores? Somebody please explain that mathematics to me. And they are not even in 5G. They are losing subscriber base. So I think having more strong competition will always be better rather than duopoly in the telecom service provider space. And our sense is that ARPUs have gone up. Data users, as far as consumers like you and me are concerned, have gone up during pandemic, post-pandemic, and the new normal that has set in. Our assumption is that even this year you will see a steady increase as far as data tariffs are concerned and voice tariffs are concerned. Subscriber base addition is also something that is going to be looking very interesting for the two large players, that is Jio as well as Bharti. As a disclosure, we have coverage on both of them.
All right, but Gaurang, of course, you don't want to comment on Vodafone Idea stock specifically, but still a fundraising plan of 45,000 crore, and add to that, I mean, if there is an announcement in 5, of what they plan to do with 5G, the government is also going to convert their stake into equity. I mean, it does give a new lease on life to the company, but free fall this morning, 4.5%, the stock is down. What's worrying investors in your mind?
There's the same worry, Suyash. I mean, you have to, and telecom service provider space is such that you need to invest huge amount of capital for keeping your systems up to mark and upgrades. And I don't know, I mean, honestly speaking, and we've heard these fund infusion stories in the past also. So I'm not excited, to be very honest. I mean, I would rather buy a strong player or invest in a strong player in this segment rather than go for a wishful story being told to me. And like I said, on Vodafone Idea, and honestly, Suyash, we had coverage very long time back. We had a sell recommendation, to be very honest. And after our sell recommendation targets on the lower side being achieved, we have removed the coverage because we don't find any credible fundamental over there.
Gaurang, you spoke about a strong player. Do you foresee Jio to get listed separately in the near future, and do you consider that as a strong player?
Well, we all would wish to do that, to be very honest, but it is up to the wisdom of the management when they are doing it. We saw one part happening, Jio Financials. I think we leave it to the wisdom of the management as to when they will take a call to do this.
All right, and we were just earlier in the conversation talking about how FIIs, they have been net sellers in equities, but they are lapping up debt, the government debt. They have infused nearly 4.5 billion since the start of the year. I mean, their investments in debt has been steadily rising since October, since the announcement in the JP Morgan bond index. What does it mean for the rupee? Because I mean, RBI has done particularly well in at least keeping volatility for the rupee under check. Gaurang.
So despite the FIs have sold in equity markets, we are at 22,200, a new high. And I discount them upright, to be very honest. It doesn't matter to me. And I'll be glad to lap in any stock where they have a sell recommendation if I found credible fundamentals and we have coverage over there. Bond markets was missing out on one thing, that is participation and volumes. I think that game is going to change post the, policy changes or the changes that have been put in place, and of course inclusion of Indian bonds into the overseas market. So I guess there will be a little bit of more flavor or attraction towards the bond markets. And of course, there has been a long desire from my side individually to see a stronger rupee against the dollar. Let's see where it settles down.
All right. Those are the words coming in from Gaurang Shah. Sir, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for joining us here on News9. But let's also look at how the markets are doing, and they are back in the green. Nifty, as we speak, is in fact very close to the day's high. It's back above 22,200 levels. Had tested a bottom of around 22,150 today, and Sensex is also trading higher. It's moving closer to 73,200 levels. Remember, Sensex is yet to hit a record high. The record high over there is above 73,400 levels. We are currently about 200 points below that, and the mid cap and the small cap indices, the broader markets in general, they remain rather directionless. The mid cap index is trading with a marginal cut, whereas the small cap index is up 0.1%. And volatility, after a brief spike in the morning, it is now retracing and moving closer to 15.5. Remember, we were knocking at 16 levels, but a slight correction in volatility as of 10 a.m. this morning. But with that, it's a wrap in this edition of First Take. Thank you for watching.
मेक इन इंडिया जैसे है ना, वैसे ही एक मूवमेंट चलना चाहिए, वेड इन इंडिया.
Nowadays, you're seeing there is a color palette, a theme, and even a whole designer concept to the wedding.
I think the entire headache which the relatives used to take is now gone to the wedding planner.
And India, in terms of diversity, gives you all the options to do your residential weddings within India itself.
The big fat Indian wedding will end up adding to the growth of India's economy.